Oh, hey, uh, I'm gonna do something that I didn't think I would do, at least for a mighty long time. Uh, and I'm going to do this, and I'm not doing it for any particular reason, I guess, except for myself. I'm trying to change certain things about me. Uh, I'm concerned on a lot of different issues. I'm probably going to be getting rid of a lot of stuff. Um, and one of the things I plan on getting rid of is are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Nose job. So I have let my hair grow fairly long. This is 5 years plus growth, I guess you could say. I've had a couple little trims since I've moved in here. Uh, got off the street, uh, and we've had a person come here and cut our hair. But because of the whole quarantine thing, we haven't had anybody come here to cut hair anymore or anything like that. Don't know how much longer the quarantine was going to last, and I'd been thinking about getting a haircut for a while. I'd probably go into a barber shop or something like that. But California, it's very expensive to get a haircut. And so, anyway, bored, silly, and don't know when this crap is going to let up. So I thought, well, I mean, I'm no barber and I don't know the first thing about cutting hair, right? But I'm really kind of getting tired of messing with this, to be honest with you. Uh, as much as I would love to have a nice, big, thick head of hair and, you know, whatever, and, you know, you know, it's kind of crazy, so whatever, so, you know, when it's washed and it's, a little bit more whatever. I know I'm going to end up regretting this because it took a while just to get it this long. But I've been shedding a lot of hair too. So the fact that I even have this uh, is amazing to me. I mean, here I am 52 years old and, uh, you know, obviously for guys, it's always a concern about losing your hair and so forth and so on. But anyway, I let my hair grow for different reasons. And for those of you who know me, you know why, I guess. Those of you who don't really know me that well probably don't know why I let my hair grow long. But I figured a change, like Sam Cooke would say, a change is going to come. It's about time a change is going to come. So, like I said, I don't know the first thing about cutting hair, but so you're going to watch, or you may not watch. It may be painful for some of you. So, anyway, so, where do I start? Right here, maybe? Don't necessarily have good scissors. Ooh, when you hear that snip, 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 uh, there's some. Uh, ooh. People are going to be surprised to see me when I leave here. Say, Kevin, what happened to your hair? say a rat ate it. Rat ate it, yeah. Well, I got a book over here that looks like it's growing hair. Oh no, what happened to me? Oh. You know, so I don't know what y'all are doing out there. You know, how's life going with you guys? Y'all doing okay? Eating donuts, fried chicken. Fried chicken. You know, the thing is, I've come to the sad reality that I'm probably not going to make it to the year 2030. I'm only 52. My mom died when she was 66, right? She would have died when she was 56. So in my senior year in 1987, I was going to join the United States Marine Corps. And long story short, I was wanting to pursue a rap career at that time. You know, people were telling me how good I was. And so I wanted to pursue rap and get into the music industry and so forth and so on. And people still think I should try to pursue that, but I don't want to get into the music industry right now, as evil and as it is. But anyway, my Marine recruiter didn't want to play ball with me. And so, needless to say, I had to disqualify myself to get out of my obligation to join the Marine Corps. And I really wanted to join the Marines, you know. I wanted to be a badass, you know, because my last name is Badway. And I thought, man, you know, I'd like to be a drill instructor. And I could just see me having a t-shirt, you know, said Badass Badway, you know. I wanted to get into Force Recon and hopefully then maybe join the Navy, become a Navy SEAL. So I had aspirations a lot like a lot of the younger kids who want to join the military for whatever reason. But that being said, the only way to disqualify myself without worrying about getting a dishonorable discharge or anything like that was basically to drop out of high school. So one of the first really, and I made a lot of mistakes in my life, and one of the biggest ones was getting out of my obligation to join the Marine Corps. I really wanted to go in, and I really had aspirations and everything. And I knew I would have been in shape. I would be a lot better physical condition. You know, I'd be a lot, you know, I wouldn't let myself go to pot, so to speak. Anyway, so I dropped out of high school. That disqualified me, and I got what they call a general discharge. So it was neither dishonorable or honorable. It was just basically a general discharge because you had to have a high school diploma or equivalency to be able to be a Marine, which is understandable and fine. So the year I would have been in boot camp, my mom had her first major asthmatic attack. She was a chronic smoker. She had been smoking for for a really long time. And I was about 20, living with my mom, because I was pretty much the only one left, going to school at that time, because I had been in the 7th grade for 3 years. You know, Eminem tells that he was in the 9th grade for 3 years, so... You know, hey, I was in the 7th grade for 3 years, and not so much because I was stupid or anything like that. The other, I just got kind of lazy and didn't really like to do my homework, and I was really bullied a lot as a kid. So, I guess a lot of anxiety from being bullied and this, that, and the other. All I want to do is just go outside and play. You know, take my mind off of things, or do other things that were distracting. So anyway, that being said, I was there when my mom had her first major asthmatic attack. We were in an apartment. I happened to be home, And like I said, it would have been during this time when I would have been in boot camp. And she was basically on all fours. You know, she couldn't breathe. She was she was practically paralyzed because she couldn't move. You know, so if you could imagine, half of her was, like I said, on all fours. You know, half of her was outside into the hallway. The other half of her was in the bathroom. So she was like halfway out of the bathroom, and she was scared, obviously, and I didn't know what the fuck was going on. So, needless to say, I called 911, and eventually she got diagnosed with having asthma, emphysema, chronic bronchitis, and COPD. So, because I had been there, she actually lived 10 more years. So, if you put that in perspective, she died at 66 years old. 10 years earlier, she was only 56. What's interesting about this is that my sister, one of my sisters on my mom's side, she died just a few years back, and she's only 10 years older than me. And she died around 57. So, she died about the same time our mother would have died if I hadn't been there. So, I don't know where my nephews were at the time, and I know that they probably would have loved to have been there to help her. You know, I mean, I know she probably had to go to the hospital and everything, the other. But whatever the case is, that's pretty young, right? And I lived with my mom for 30 years, right? And being that she was a chronic smoker, I ended up breathing in all that smoke, all that secondhand smoke. So I know that I'm prone to having respiratory issues as well. And I've been diagnosed with bronchitis a couple of times, at least during the times when I was homeless. I'd been homeless for like 15 years. And the breathing all that secondhand smoke, you know, can set you up for so many different kinds of illnesses and cancers and all that crap and all that stuff like that. Me, I was just like, whatever happens, happens. If I die from cancer, I die from cancer. If I die from COPD or asthma, I'm going to die from that because I'm not going to take medication for it. My mom was on medication. She took a lot of medication when she died, and I was going through all of her medication. And I saw her little notebook that she would write down all the different times she had to, you know, when she could take this particular medicine, and she had to make sure that she didn't take this particular medicine when she was taking this medicine, and so forth and so on. I was like, screw that. I'm not putting myself in that kind of mess. And if I could talk anybody out of being on medication, I would. You know, there's so many other ways you can do this, you know, whether it's exercise or changing your diet. But look, the way I look at life is if you're going to die, you're going to die. There's nothing you can do about it. You could try to prolong it, you know, you could try to postpone it rather for a while. But, you know, it always amazes me how people are all about getting in shape and eating the right foods and working out. And, look at me, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, next day they drop dead of a heart attack, or they walk across the street and get hit by a car. You know, when your time is up, there's nothing you can do about it. Now, I don't know if that's a fate thing or what. But you have to just look at life and say, look, we're not destined to be here forever. We're going to go, right? So I've pretty much come to the realization that at 52, I'll be lucky to see 55 or 56. If I make it to 56 or 57, as long as my sister did, I'm like, okay, well, I would probably consider that normal, considering the circumstances of the respiratory illnesses that I have. Excuse me. as it relates to that. Uh, and the funny thing is, I used to tell kids when I was in school, I'm going to live to be 250 years old. And I was basing this on a Chinese guy who there was a report that in 1920 something he died, and apparently he lived for 250 years, but because there was no birth certificate or no documentation to prove it, and you could Google this, Chinese man lived to be 250 years, whatever. The only thing that gave him any kind of credibility is where there would be people who say that their grandparents remembered, or their great grandparents remembered him when, he was when he was a kid, or this, that, and the other, or whatever, setting him back quite a bit of years, so to speak. But whether it's true or not, I don't know. But I've always believed it's possible. But we do age, and we age fairly quickly, but not because I think that it's just natural that some people, because there are people who, are 60 or 70 years old and they look fabulous, right? And people will say, well, that's genetics or genes. It's a lot of other things. Diet, it's not smoking, not drinking, not being out in the sun, not rubbing creams and lotions all over your body. They're not natural to the body, and so forth and so on. So for whatever reason, you just have to realize that life is temporary. And I know that I'm probably not going to live a long time. And I'm not trying to depress anybody. I'm just, talking about reality. As many of you know, I've been a lone wolf for a while. My social skills are, some people will say that, I'm a very sociable guy and I can make people laugh and I can walk into a room and be entertaining and so forth and so on. But I'm really quite shy, and a lot of times I'm kind of, I don't want to. Sometimes I talk myself, and if I'm invited to go to a party, I talk myself out of it. I don't know if it's out of fear or if it's just because I don't want to be put in a situation around people that I don't know. I don't know what the reason is, but it sucks being lonely. There's being alone and there's being lonely. I'm alone, right? Because I don't have anybody, and that's all fine and good for the most part, and I'm probably going to be alone for the rest of my life. But like everybody else, always wanted to have a partner or someone that I could share my life with. But the reality is that's probably not going to ever happen. Okay, that's fine. Don't cry. Don't like I said, no reason to be sad. That's just my reality. And I could, anyway. But what really sucks is not so much being alone as it is as far as being lonely, right? We're human beings and we're social creatures, and everyone needs to be loved and liked and so forth and so on. So the reality for me is I know that when I go, right, I'm not going to have anybody. I'm probably not going to have a funeral. Probably not going to have anybody to be there for me or to say a eulogy for me. When I go, I'm gone. And as a person who believes in God, I'm not going to lie to you. I believe that I'm probably going south of the border. Because I'm not a saint, and I probably haven't done a whole lot of things to please my Heavenly Father. So, part of me wants to have this, atheistic view where I can just do whatever I want, not care about what happens, and think that I'm just going to return to some kind of cosmic dust, But I believe in God because of what He's done for me. And am I a millionaire or a billionaire? No. Could I have been? Yeah. A lot of things. The reason why I'm in the situation I'm in is because of self-defeating actions, right? I've always talked myself out of opportunities. And a lot of it was fear. You know, I don't know where I was going to be going, or I didn't know how to handle success. So I thought, well, what's the point of me even trying if I'm going to be surrounded by people who all they're going to do is try to take my money or try to scam me or whatever. And for the most part, like when I used to do karaoke and stuff like that, I was content with just getting up on stage and singing a song or whatever. And if somebody liked it and enjoyed it, I'm good. If I drew a piece of art or made a painting, if somebody liked it, I'm good. If somebody liked one of my raps, you know, or something that I wrote, whether it was an essay or whether it was a whatever it was, if someone liked it, I was good with that. And even if people said, man, you need to do something with this, you need to share this with the world, you know, then people say, well, why don't you write a book? You know, why don't you put all your ideas, the things that you think about, so on and so on. You know, again, the self-defeating aspect is, who wants to listen to my story, right? Who wants to listen to a lonely, homeless guy who's got some talents, who never really did anything with them, and blah, 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 blah. But there's a lot of wisdom in there that I think probably should be shared. And I sometimes offer that from time to time, either on Facebook or Instagram or what have you. But whatever the case is, I know that my time is fleeting, and I just have to accept things as they are. And the world will probably be a better place without me here anyway. And that's not me trying to be down on myself. That's just reality. Because I'm not doing anything to make the world a better place. Even though in my own attempt to try to make the world a better place by trying to open people's eyes about what's going on in the world. But people don't listen. People don't care. And that's how the hell? I'm trying to figure out how this goes on here. I might have jumped the gun here. Ah, there you go. Yeah, pull out the big guns now. Anyway, I don't know how this is going to work. Now this might take a while, so I might not do the whole video here like this. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of sit and chat and tell y'all a little bit about, give you something interesting, I guess. Maybe I know some of you probably saying, you should have cut more with the scissors. Oh, what are you doing? Are you crazy? I've been accused of that. Feel like I got a Tribble sitting over here. That's a Star Trek reference. I'm more of a Star Wars guy. Damn, Nick, my hair is stronger than my clippers. So, anyway, when my mom had died, when it was that time, in case you're curious about how that all came about, I used to work at Mervyn's, and there was a shopping center in North Richland Hills, or was it Hearst? In that area. And I'll never forget it. My mom was supposed to get well, she had scheduled an appointment for her cataracts. She was developing cataracts. And she was supposed to have an appointment on Monday. And this was in 1997. And it was the weekend. And we came back from the grocery store. By this time, she had like a little oxygen tank that she took with her. So she had been on oxygen. Nothing big, whatever, but she was on that, and albuterol, ACE inhibitors, and all that crap. And she had a really bad asthmatic attack again, where I had to call 911 and have the ambulance come out, pick her up. They took her to the hospital. So, for the most part, I was pretty much home alone for a few days. And then one day, I was at at Mervyn's. I was working, and it was early part of the day. Not morning or nothing like that. It was in the afternoon. It might have been around 5 o'clock or so. I don't remember the exact time, but I had got a call from the hospital, and so my mom had called me, and she was telling me something about wanting me to try to get the people to. There were people, I don't know if they were next to her or in her room or whatever, but I was getting the impression that there were people apparently being loud, and it was frustrating her, and there was nothing she could do, so she called me, and as if I could do something about it. So I said, well, I'll try to call the doctors and find out what's going on. And so I hung up and called back to the hospital, and I asked the nurse there, I said, look, my mom said that there's a bunch of people standing outside her room, and they're talking and this, that, and the other. And the nurse was like, no, there's nobody there. You know, there might be a doctor or something standing outside of her room or whatever, but there was not a whole lot of people around or talking to us with her. So I don't know how much of it, or if she was just delusional, or if there was something that happened prior to when I called and they eventually left. I don't know what the case is. But it was just weird that my mom would call me while I'm at Mervyn's. So later that night, when we closed, because I worked till closed that night, got home, called a couple of friends, and then I got a phone call. And, you know, we have this thing where we got this sixth sense or whatever, but something just seemed kind of weird. And I picked up the phone, and one of the nurses had called me, and basically they told me that because my mom had signed a DNR, that which is, for those of you who don't know, means do not resuscitate. However, they wanted to, because she was in some bad shape. She wasn't getting any better. And right now they were just kind of basically keeping her alive at this moment. And they asked me what I wanted to do. And I was like, what the fuck, you know? I mean, I don't know, you know. You know, what do you do? You know, I mean, you tell them to, you know, oh, just whatever, you know, hey, she signed a DNR, let her go, whatever. I didn't know what to do. So all I could think of was like, hold on, keep her alive till I get there, right? So that I could better assess the situation. So I hop in the car, man. I drive down there in a heartbeat, boom, 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 and make my way in there. And by the time I get there, I see that they're transferring her to ICU. So I was like, okay. Now, when I got there, it appeared that she could see me. It appeared that she was coherent. They had the mask on, everything like that, the other. But she was off. She was obviously not in good shape, and so they took her to ICU. And once they got her all hooked up and everything, then I could go in and visit her. So I go in there, and don't remember much about conversation-wise. I don't think we really talked or anything together. But basically, she was just taking like these deep breaths, right? She was like, so she was just taking these deep breaths because they had her hooked up to, I guess, a respirator or what have you. And by this time, it was about near 3 o'clock in the morning. So I'd been there for a while, and I went and called a couple of people, a couple of relatives. I think I talked to my sister. I ended up talking to my uncle, and my Uncle Johnny, and he basically told me, whatever you decide, we'll support you on this, right? So it was basically my call. So if you can think about this for a minute, I've been living with my mom for 30 years. I got ostracized by my family because I was associating with black people, because I was getting into hip-hop and becoming very Afrocentric. So I'm already being isolated from family. Got a dad who didn't want me. So I had no father figure. You know, I had a stepdad for a while that screwed me up. But aside from that, pretty much everybody on my mom's side of the family, you know, half-sisters and uncles and nieces and whatever, didn't want to have anything to do with me. So I became the proverbial black sheep of the family, so to speak. So here I am having her brother tell me, rather than get off his lazy ass and come to the hospital and give me some support, my sister, who couldn't do anything, right, because she's in Houston, she can't, like, get up here that quick. So I'm all alone. What do I do? And the only words of encouragement I had was, hey, whatever you decide, we'll stand behind you. Okay, well, she signed a DNR and she's not getting any better. So I had to make the biggest decision of my life that I would not recommend anybody be in, or would not want anybody to have to be in that situation. And I had to tell them to basically pull the plug. Let it go. So I went in there. I held her hand. Watched her eyes go to white, I guess you could say. Watched her still take these deep breaths. Right? And I remember I tried to sing Amazing Grace to her, you know. I don't know what to do. Never been in this situation. It might seem comical now, but at the time I was like, what do you say? You know, I love you, Mom. Hey, blah, blah, blah. Da, 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 da. It's okay, you know, everything's going to be all right. You know, I don't know. I don't know if I would do anything different. You know, I don't know. I couldn't offer anybody any advice of what to say to somebody, especially when you're the one that is the guy that has to pull the plug. And I got no support. And what I mean by support is not because what they told me on the phone saying, hey, we'll back you up, whatever you decide. I got nobody there to lean on. I got nobody to hold or hug or shed a tear with. No, I'm doing this all by myself. Okay, like I said, I've been pretty much a lone wolf my entire life. You know, no siblings to play with, nothing. You know, all my siblings were 10 years older than me, or whatever. You know, they were already out of the house doing God knows what. And I'm like, what the fuck? I got nobody. Right? So, and being bullied a lot kind of made me somewhat an a-hole.
right? Because I don't put up with people's crap. I don't take crap from anybody. I'm not a tough guy. I'm not a badass, whatever. I mean, but I just, rather than go there, I'd rather just walk away, just whatever. And so I basically isolated myself from a lot of people, somewhat intentionally, somewhat probably subconsciously, but whatever the case is, I did. And here I am, no one to lean on, holding my mom's hand, and basically waiting until she went flatline. That was 2 hours later. About almost 5 o'clock on the dot. Closed your eyes. Grabbed your stuff. Made the longest walk I ever made in my life. Down that hallway to my car. Got home. Stayed awake. Waited till it was time that I know the bank was going to open. Because the first thing she told me to do was, hey, if I ever die, make sure you take my money out of the account. Make sure you pull the money out so the bank don't try to, seize it or whatever. She only had like a couple of $1,000s in there. Not a whole lot of money. And I did it. I closed and, they were asking me questions. And so I kind of acted on the fly. I don't know what I said. I think it was that right now she needed to close her account because she was looking to transition somewhere else or whatever the case is. I didn't tell her anything about her health or whatever that. Because you never want to give the banks any kind of clues to a situation that might affect your loved ones because they will seize the account, right? And after I did that and I got home, then it was when I could finally take a nap. And then eventually my sister came up to visit and, and that was the first time I actually cried, I think. Yeah, that was the first time because I was telling my sister basically what I just told you. And it was sharing with her last deep breaths that I finally just kind of like teared up and cried, I guess. Me and my mom were never really close. None of my family members were close. Sometimes I often felt like I was adopted or I felt like I was in the wrong family. I always felt like I was the odd man out anyway. I was born in Kansas. My whole family on my mom's side were born and raised in Texas. My dad is Syrian. My family on my mom's side are Scotch, Irish, and French. So it's just one thing after another. It's like my whole life has just seemed to me to be set up for failure. My name is an anagram, John Badway. You put my middle name in there, it just personalizes it. Why a job end, Kevin? That's right, all those letters, you rearrange them, it spells out why a job end, Kevin. And I'd had over 30 jobs by the time I was 35. So I thought, well, maybe it's not meant for me to have a job. Then I ended up being homeless for like 15 years. Never saw that coming. But it happened. Maybe I did see it coming. When I was a kid, I used to think about if I ever became rich and famous, what I wanted to do was if I ever had enough money, I'd like to, open up the biggest, baddest homeless shelter that the world has ever seen, right? You would almost want to quit your job and be homeless just to live at this facility. So, that's a dream. Who knows what my future holds. But whatever the case, then years later, I found out my uncle, the one that had whatever, they found his body in the trunk of his car in the parking lot at Walmart. Killed by some guy apparently who was a drug user or whatever. Didn't shed a tear. Didn't didn't cause any emotion to me whatsoever. And I know people might say, well, you're a bad person. How can you feel for people, man, who don't really give a rat's ass about you? So I end up seeming somewhat cold-hearted, a person who seems unsympathetic or empathetic to other people. It's almost like there's a part of me that cares. There's a part of me that, that has a heart and a soul. And then there are times when I'm a coldless son of a bitch. And I hate that. I don't like being an asshole. I don't like making people angry. And I know where it comes from. Or I believe I know where it comes from. And more often than not, I do it to push people away, especially when people are trying to get close to me. And it takes a little work to get close to me. Because unless I have something that me and you can relate to, that we have a connection with, it's going to be pretty difficult. And so some of you out there who have watched this far, probably like, why are you telling us this? I'm not... I'm not suicidal, all right? I'm not drunk or anything like that. I'm just sharing. Maybe somebody out there who has had similar situations. We've all had tragedies in our life. And we've all had problems. We've all had faults. We're human beings. We all have emotions and desires and ideas. And sometimes, because we look at the world through our eyes, right, we seem like we're the center of our own universe. And to some degree, that's true. Because you are the center of your own experiences, your own universe, your own livelihood. And because of that, it's hard for other people, I guess, to accept you for being you. And that's why we kind of gravitate towards those who accept us and rebel against those who are against us. And we have a hard time trying to get along with one another and caring about one another and loving one another, accepting one another, just because we have different viewpoints or different ideas, and it doesn't take much to divide us, whether it's politically, whether it's religiously, whether it's whatever, you can have a person, you can be friends with somebody, even if you don't really know the person. Maybe you're just friends with them on Facebook, right? You can have a person like a president, right? And that person can divide that friendship, cause anxiety within that friendship or relationship, because you'll have people that will start to take sides and say, well, I agree with kind of what this person's saying. Well, I don't. I think he's this. Well, that may be true, but, this and whatever. And whatever the case is, you let something that is not a part of you per se divides you. We as a people, right, are supposed to come together and unite, put our differences aside. But we're so caught up in our own world, in our own universe, that if somebody disagrees or says something that is an antithesis to our belief, then we have to kick them to the curb, or we have to shoot them down. And that's the story of life. And that's why there will always be wars. That's why there will always be fights. That's why there always will be bullies. That's why those people are always going to be in their own little cliques. Because people can't just accept people and say, look, I may not like what you do, or I may not like what you think, but damn it, you're a human being. You're a person, and you have emotions. And I'm going to accept you for who you are. I may not agree with it. I may not like it. I will let you know. This is what I don't like, or whatever. But that's the end of it. That doesn't mean that we can't be friends. That doesn't mean we can't be cool. That doesn't mean we can't get together and have a barbecue or whatever. But we don't want that, do we? Because if somebody is against something, or opposes this, you don't want to socialize with that person. You don't want to be with that person. And that might be the very person who is that one person that none of your friends, or these people that you call friends, would be there for you at the moment you need them. And the one person that you have a problem with, whether it's politics or religion or whatever, that's the person that ends up pulling you out from underneath the train and saving your life, right? Pulls you out, from being hit by a car, or, perform CPR on you. It's weird how life works that way. Well, anyway, short hair again. I'm probably going to buzz the sides, trim the top some more, and try to clean up a little bit. So, anyway, like I said, I don't know why I'm doing this video per se. The idea was to just start out showing me cutting my hair. Wasn't trying to get philosophical or be too whatever. But I guess part of me subconsciously is saying, look, I know I'm not going to be here much longer. I'm not going to get no vaccination. I'm not going to get no whatever. Y'all want to believe in that crap, that's your prerogative. I don't. And I may die from it, which would be kind of weird and ironic and stuff like that. I'm okay with that. I'm obese. I don't eat healthy. So I may die from a heart attack. I would like to have everything in order before I go. But if I do go, to those of you out there who I've met, who have genuinely liked me for whatever reason, or put up with me for whatever reason, to you I say, thank you. Thank you for your smiles. Thank you for allowing me to share your table. Thank you for accepting me for being me. Even if we weren't that close. And you know who you are. Those of you who I've spent time with in some form or fashion. Maybe you never invited me to your house. Okay, fine. But I don't want you to feel bad about that. I just am thankful for the times that we did share. When you supported me when I got up on stage, or listened to my jokes, or whatever it is that you remember about me that made you like me enough to befriend me on Facebook or any other form of social media. Thank you. I know I probably will never see any of you again. It all depends on how this stuff goes. But know that I do genuinely thank you and like you and appreciate. And I know some of you probably wish you could have done more to help me, and you couldn't when I was struggling. It's kind of hard, and I understand that. But whatever the case is, I don't want you to feel bad. I don't want you to feel like, oh, man, don't worry about that. All I can ask of you, if I could ask anything of you, is pray, accept that God and that Christ is real. Do what you need to do in your own life before it's too late. That's all I can say to you, because tomorrow was never promised to us. And if I live to be 60, and if this video is still here, I'll be amazed. But I know that it's all in God's hands. Not yours, not theirs. It's in God's hands. And all I can do is try to help. But when it's my time to go, it's my time to go. So I don't want to be depressing, and I apologize because right now you're probably thinking, okay, this, whatever. So I hope you enjoyed watching me cutting my hair, and don't worry, I am gonna keep going. That really ain't doing a whole much. Guess I'm gonna have to go back to the scissors. So anyway, I'll post a updated video after this, or maybe a picture, and maybe before and after. Before and after. Anyway, I hope you have a good night. And this is Kevin, out of work bad way, retired, saying God bless you all. And if you listen to this much and seen this much, thank you. Have a blessed day. And take care of one another. Unite. Unite. Love you. Peace.